This man does not need much introduction from me. I have known him since he was in 8th grade. I've known his family for a long time. Former Stansbury Stallion, former BYU Cougar, a Super Bowl 57 champion with the Kansas City Chiefs, and currently a Green Bay Packer. Ladies and gentlemen, Zayne Anderson.
What up, CeeJ?
How's it going, Zayne? Thanks so much for joining, man. How's it going?
It's going good, man.
Good,
Just
good.
Thursday night, enjoying this game.
Absolutely. Yeah, kind of a surprising start to the game for me anyway. I know that the Steelers offense has not been good at all, and they went down the field with ease on that first drive. So I know for me that was pretty surprising to see. Maybe Matt
Yeah,
Canada being down on the sideline is making a difference because, as I was kind of saying in the beginning, their offensive coordinator has been calling the plays from up in the booth the whole season, but he moved down to the sideline today. So maybe he can see more or be able to communicate better. You never know, but seems
yeah.
like it made a difference.
It's always interesting. Some coaches prefer being down there. Some coaches like being up, be able to see everything.
Yeah, what I mean, like you as a player, what would you prefer? Do you like when the defensive coordinator or wherever you're playing, whichever side of the ball, do you like it when they're down on the field, or would you rather have them up in the booth where they can see the whole field? What do you think as far as from a player perspective? What do you like more?
I think it all just kind of depends on the defensive coordinator. I think it's if they feel comfortable making the calls and checks up there rather than they do down on the field. I think it all just depends. I've experienced both. It's nice having your defensive coordinator down there to kind of rally everyone on the field, but I can see the positives of them also being up in the sky, being able to see everything and make the necessary checks up through there. Sometimes you're not able to see the whole field down on the field.
For sure. Yeah, I know for me, they gonna give that sack to TJ or Highsmith? I think it's Highsmith that just got that sack there.
How much time's on your
Um,
on
I
the
have
clock over there?
I have 4 minutes and 18 left in the first quarter. It looks like there's a penalty, so I'm not
Yeah,
sure how
that's where I'm
different
at.
we are.
That's where I'm at.
Okay, cool. I'm hoping, yeah, that should be probably pretty synced since they're all kind of on the same platform watching it. So I think we probably should be fairly close to one another when it comes to kind of how we're synced up on this. But Zane,
Oh
let's kind of
man.
talk about you for a second here. So you start the season with Buffalo, obviously. You sign a deal with them after winning a Super Bowl with the Chiefs. Um, you get waived, but immediately, before you can even hit free agency again, you get picked up by Green Bay. Tell me kind of what that was like to immediately get picked up by a team after, what's that like emotionally to hear you're getting cut and then, within the 24 hours already get picked up by another team? Kind of walk us through what that feels like as a player.
Yeah, it's something a lot of people don't know about. I think when you're in the business, cut days it's a tough day. A lot of people lose jobs, and a lot of people don't ever get to play what they love doing. It's kind of the end of their careers, and so it's always a tough day. I think for everyone in the building, uh, even for coaches, and a lot of times it's some of the cuts out of their control, and so yeah, it was I was fortunate this year. I've been on the other end of it where you don't get claimed and you kind of have to go on practice squad and make your way. But even that kind of was a blessing too, at a young age. But for this year, that's something when I left KC I wanted to accomplish was make a 53-man roster. And yeah, like you said, dude, it was a kind of roller coaster, when you don't initially make the team that which I was with Buffalo to how to initially make that team, but for Green Bay to give me that opportunity was such a blessing, and it's what I wanted, man. It's what I set after my goals after the Super Bowl, and so to be able to do that and for them to give me this opportunity has been amazing.
That's awesome, man. I know that I was calling for a riot in Buffalo when I saw that you got cut, but I was so I was so happy to see that immediately you getting picked up by Green Bay. It's such a great organization, right? I mean, so much tradition. I've never been to Green Bay, but I've heard it's just a really cool place. What's it like to be a Green Bay Packer? What's it like in Green Bay? What was it like that first time walking into Lambeau, a place with so much history? What's it been like so far to be in Green Bay?
Yeah, man, you can feel it as soon as you walk in the doors. Um, I wasn't ever necessarily a big Green Bay fan. I had a lot of friends and family members and some extended friends that were big Packers fans, and you can just as soon as I walked in the building, I understood why.
Yeah,
Dang, look at that hit.
TJ,
Um,
man, he's
but yeah, man,
he's great.
yeah, he's a dog.
Yeah, he is.
But yeah, as soon as I walked in, I felt the history, and they've actually redone their facilities there,
Wow.
and it's just kind of framed around their history, and you just kind of feel it in the air. And then when you walk into Lambeau, I remember the first time I went in there, we were there for picture day. Right after the first week, I got there, and it's cool, man. There's a lot of history there, a lot
Oh
of
yeah.
this where football's been around for a long time, and to be a part of an organization like that is pretty cool.
Yeah, I can imagine, man. I know that that's definitely a place that's on my, sports bucket list to get to at some point is go to a game at Lambeau Field. There's just like you said, man, so much history there. When I think of Lambeau, I mean, I almost think of like the birthplace of the NFL
Right,
because you have a guy like Vince Lombardi who set the standard for winning, and you think of, I mean, the first Super Bowl ever was won by the Packers.
right,
So it's got to be amazing to be a part of a place with so much history like that.
absolutely. Yeah, 14 world championships, like
Yeah,
obviously
exactly.
before the Super Bowl era, but
Right.
crazy.
Yeah. Absolutely. Well, let's kind of talk about this year a little bit. So obviously, you guys in a little bit of a transitional period. Last year, and with several years before, you got a guy like Aaron Rodgers in there that it seems like the Packers are in the conversation for a Super Bowl or at least an NFC Championship. Every single season. But this year, you guys have kind of gone younger, right? Jordan Love, the starting quarterback, getting his first opportunity to be a full time starter. You guys out the gate have struggled a little bit. 2-5, obviously probably not where you guys want to be right now. What's the vibe like around the team, and what do you think you guys need to do to get yourselves back in the playoff conversation?
Yeah, man. I mean, you can feel it when you walk in the building. It's there's nothing worse than coming in after a Sunday the next day and they're taking a loss. You can just kind of feel it in the air. Everyone's got a bitter taste in their mouth, and I think we're ready to get that out, man. It's every game has been there's been some games that haven't been as close, but a lot of games will come down to a few key plays and a few key drives, and but that's the NFL, man. Like it's the margin for error is very slim, and so I think it just comes down to like a few execution plays. Like we're younger on both sides of the ball, especially the offense, and so I think there's a little bit of growing pains, and but like we said, I think it's we're kind of in the middle of the season now where rookies are no longer rookies, and so I think we've got the rookies that are capable of growing, and they've taken a lot of growth, and I've been able to see that ever since I've been here. And so, like I said, man, it's the 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 margin for error is very slim, and I think people realize that. And you lose the game to a team, and they'll go and win it the next two games, or they'll go and lose each game. Like it's the margin for error between each team is just super slim, and so I think realizing that there's a lot of things that we can fix is super crucial and important. And everyone, I think the biggest key that's been passed around the building is, look internally. What more can you do? How are you contributing? What are you doing throughout the week to contribute? And I think that's the only way you can kind of attack it is look inward and for every person in the building.
Absolutely, man. And I think it's really important something you said that in the NFL the margin for error is so little. I feel like it's very different than obviously you're somebody that played very high level elite college football, and I think that you can probably say that there were games that you knew that you guys could probably win in college against opponents without playing your best football, right? There were teams
Right.
that, were at a much lower level than you that, you were very clearly going to win that game, even if you did not bring your, A plus game that
Hmm.
you do maybe against better opponents. But in the NFL, I mean, it's the best players in the world week in and week out. One play can completely swing a game. So I think that's very awesome to hear. That and I've gotten to watch a couple Packers games this year. I think Jordan Love is a guy that can get Green Bay back to where they need to go. I think he had a couple years to learn from one of the best quarterbacks ever, similar to kind of how Rodgers was able to learn from Brett Favre. I feel like that's something the Packers do really, really well. Is they look towards the future while also staying in the present, and they were able to really do that with getting Jordan Love in there while Aaron Rodgers was there. And Aaron seems like a guy. I mean, even now when he's in New York, right? He's mentoring Zach Wilson, who's obviously playing now quite a bit because of the injury.
Right.
That he was able to have. But I feel like that's something Green Bay is really, really good at. Is doing that. So I feel like you guys are right there, man. I mean, 2-5 obviously isn't where you want to be, like I said, but I feel like
Right.
you guys can definitely get there. All you got to do is win one, and you can string a few together, and you
Exactly.
never know what'll happen after that.
Exactly. And I think we all feel the same around the building. And yeah, man, all it takes is just 1 week at a time and focusing on one dub and not kind of canceling outside noise and kind of like I said, looking inward and then just trusting your teammates. Not pointing fingers across the side of the ball. And
Yeah.
I think we've got all the guys in the building to to be able to get these victories the next few weeks.
Absolutely. Well, let's talk about somebody else in that building. Your head coach, Matt LaFleur. A lot of things are said about him in the media that I would think you, as a player of his, probably think are a little unfair. What do you guys, what's he like to play for, compared to other coaches that you've had? Obviously, able to play for a guy like Andy Reid, but what's it like to play for Matt LaFleur? And does any of the narratives that are maybe in the media about your head coach, do those sneak into the building at all, or kind of how do you guys handle that as players?
Yeah, I would say that there's a lot of I feel like we cancel the noise pretty well outside of the building.
Yeah,
Um, there's a lot of things that go on that I don't even hear about, and so I think when I first met Matt, he's a really good guy and he loves football. Like you can tell, he eats, sleeps, and breathes football, and he puts it in. You can tell just by being around him that the effort that is there, and he's very knowledgeable of the game from an offensive standpoint, and even just from a team rallying everyone around him. I've enjoyed being around him in his presence, and be able to kind of after games and stuff, we'll sit and we'll watch both the offense and the defense, which is something new for me. Usually, once the game ends, it's boom, all right, this is what we need to do, and then defense offense splits, and so to kind of be able to watch the offense and kind of get the whole game through the script, and with Matt kind of conducting the meeting, it's been super cool to learn from him, learn what they're doing on offense, and yeah, I think Matt's a great coach. I've enjoyed his time, my time so far with him.
cool, man. Yeah, I mean, I think he's a great young guy that has a lot of potential. I know that I like him. I don't see any. I think, like I said at the beginning, I think some of the narratives about him are unfair.
Uh,
I think it's something that obviously being a head coach in the NFL, it brings a certain amount of expectations. So you're gonna hear
Absolutely.
noise, especially in an organization like Green Bay that the
Right.
standard is winning.
Yep.
So I think he's going to get you guys where you need to be.
Yeah, I think
Um,
so too.
yeah, I'm sure. I mean, you're around him every single day. So if you and obviously other players on your team, I know, feel the same way as you do. That's the most important thing, right? Who cares what anybody outside that building says? None of us know what we're talking about. We're not there all the time, like you, like you guys are.
Yeah, and that's the hard part. I mean, you have a fan base, a very passionate fan base, which is great. I mean,
Yeah,
and they're used to winning. There's still that winning culture there, and so to kind of have a season like this where we start off a little rocky and lose a few games, it's not easy. I get it from the fan standpoint, but nothing. we feel the losses just as much or more than the most passionate Green Bay fans, and we're doing everything we can to fix what we need to fix and correct what we need to correct. And so, but by canceling that noise, it's just kind of like that's all you can do during the season. There's a lot of negativity out there,
Yeah,
and I think it's kind of best to kind of stay away from it and focus on the team because I mean that's really what it comes down to is us, producing and doing what we need to do.
exactly. Well, those of you who just joining, I appreciate you joining the live here. We do have Zayne Anderson, defensive back for the Green Bay Packers, live with us here. We also are following along with the Thursday night game. 7-3 lead right now for the Steelers. We're just about to the end of the first quarter. On that last drive, TJ Watt actually was able to get a sack, so I do believe that puts him past his brother JJ's record for the most sacks through your first 100 career games. JJ actually in attendance at the game as well. He was on the Pat McAfee show talking about that he was going to be at this game. Not sure if he has Steelers stuff on, like he said he might. I feel like that would be a little weird to see JJ Watt with the Steelers thing on, but you never know. Is obviously supporting his brother. But Zane, let's talk about something else a little bit. So, um, again, I've tried to follow the Packers as much as I can since you made the move over there, and I do know that I did see your name pop up on the injury report a couple times in these last few weeks. I think I saw the first injury report come out today, though, and I did not see your name on there. How are you feeling physically? Are you back to 100%? And kind of how's your body feeling? Are we going to see you on the field?
Yeah, it's man, it's like we talked about before. We kind of missed that part, but was super excited for the opportunity.
Yeah.
Got here for a couple weeks. Was adjusting the playbook. Was supposed to play week 3, I believe. And after I'd adjusted the playbook and get everything down, and very first day, kind of tweaked my hamstring a little bit.
Ah,
And yeah, man, it was frustrating,
yeah,
but it's kind of the worst case scenario, when you're a new guy coming into a new team, trying to prove yourself, and you get this unique opportunity and something like that to happen. It was rough, man. But
yeah,
yeah, I'm feeling great. I hamstrings are one of those things where they can kind of linger a little bit,
absolutely.
and especially for a skill player
Yeah,
like me playing defensive back and especially playing special teams.
yeah.
That's what I do, man. I run. I
Exactly.
run for a
Lots of
living.
explosive movement. Exactly.
Yes. And so to not be able to do that fully, who's down? Oh, I thought it was CeeJ. But to not be able to do that fully was pretty frustrating. But I'm finally feeling like I'm back to full speed and kind of getting back to my full speed. Because when you take a few weeks off, with even if it's just a hamstring, you kind of lose a little bit of that explosiveness and stuff for a couple days. And so to be able to get that back, today and yesterday, feeling comfortable on that has been great. And so, yeah, man, we're focused on this week and focused on having a good practice week and putting everything together, both defensively and on special teams. And
Yeah.
yeah, hopefully that's the goal, to be able to play this weekend. We'll see where we're at every day, but yeah, man, just taking it one day at a time.
Yeah.
Feeling healthy, feeling good today. Tomorrow's our Fast Friday practice, and so as we kind of wrap up the week, as it gets closer, we'll see what happens.
Cool, man. Well, I'm looking forward to seeing you out there. Like I said, I was so excited when I saw you get picked up by a team like Green Bay. So I'm hoping to see you out there, and I'm glad. Was very happy to not see your name on that injury report today. I will tell you that as well.
Yeah, that's a good thing to be off that. You never
Exactly.
like your name wandering around those parts.
For sure. So I wanna address something that I think is kind of funny. So when you go on social media, and I know that we've kind of talked about this in the past that you don't really use social media a lot, which not a problem at all. But when you search your name on Twitter, there are a lot of Packers fans that don't think that you are a real person. It's hilarious to me. So I hope they can see this interview. And obviously, you've done other stuff with the actual Packers official account. So I just think it's kind of funny. If you look up your name, they're like, they want to see you play. They're excited that the Packers signed you, and they're kind of saying like, I'm not sure if Zayne Anderson's a real person or not. I kind of want to grab him by the shoulders and be like, Zane's a real person. I know him, so I promise he's real. I'm
Yeah,
not
man.
sure if you've seen or heard any of that, but I think
I
that
didn't.
yeah,
I didn't hear about anything of that. One of the ladies that conducts interviews and stuff, like she grabbed me and she's like, people are saying you aren't real on Twitter. Have you seen that? I was like, I have not seen any of that. I have no idea what you're talking about, but I guess it was like a big thing, but I had no idea. I'm kind of off Twitter during
yeah,
the season, and
yeah.
so I had no idea. But yeah, man, it was funny. They were there's a little video she put out with Aaron and guy Sab. Let's see, network connection lost. Am I still on here?
I can see. Yeah, I can see and hear you. Can you see me and hear
Yeah,
me?
yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay.
Um, but yeah, it was Aaron, and Aaron was like, "I'm Zane Anderson." I don't know if you saw that.
That's awesome, man.
But yeah, man, I'm excited. I'm excited to get it rolling and let everyone know, who I am and why the
Yeah,
Packers picked me up.
exactly. I think they're gonna find out pretty soon. I definitely think that that's the case. Oh, this is not ever something you want to see.
I know.
Somebody getting carted off. I saw him down. Who
Yeah.
is that? Number 55. Let me head to the
Uh,
roster. Yeah, I think so. Let me head to their roster real quick and get a name. Cole Holcomb out of North Carolina.
mm, yeah, you hate to see that.
Hate to see anytime the cart's out. That's not ever good.
How's Will Levis playing tonight so far?
Well, so the first drive they didn't really move the ball well, but they were backed up first and 23. Inside their own 5, he was able to get a nice completion over to D Hop. So I feel like anytime you have DeAndre Hopkins as a receiver, it's probably pretty nice to just be able to kind of throw in his general direction.
Oh, absolutely.
So,
Yeah, he went
but
off last week. Both of them did. Both of them had really good games.
oh yeah, yeah. And Will Levis looked fantastic last week. I was kind of talking at work with some people, and they were telling me I think Tennessee might have found their guy, and I'm like, let's pump the brakes as one game, right? But I mean, he did look. I mean, he looked awesome. I'm not
For
gonna lie, he
sure.
looked fantastic. But we'll see. I mean, this is a tough defense. Even though statistically the Steelers have not been great so far this year, anytime you have a defensive line like they do, it's
Yeah.
never going to be fun for a young quarterback, and I'm sure the defensive coordinator will have a lot of things dialed up for to put some pressure on Will Levis.
Yeah, man, that's a great team. We played them in when I was with Buffalo. We played them in preseason,
Yeah.
and just all three phases of the ball, they dominated us. And after the game, I was like, "Dang, those guys are good." And you felt their physicality, like it's when you play a team and you can kind of feel their sense of identity. That's I think that's a pretty good thing, and I think that's their physicality. And you felt
Oh,
that throughout all three phases, and so I was going into the season thinking that then obviously you hit the regular season, it's a little bit different, but
for sure.
it's a good team, man.
It is.
I think they could if they could string some things together, it could be pretty good.
Absolutely. Yeah, I love Mike Vrabel as a coach. I think, he instills his attitude in his players. I think coming, from you saying that, a team in all three phases, physicality, that's Mike Vrabel. I mean, that's just who that guy is, right? Just a tough nose. I mean, he was that way as a player when he played for the Patriots. And he's like that as a head coach. They've had some really good teams in Tennessee under him. Yeah, like you said, I mean, they've struggled, to start the year in the regular season, but kind of a lot like you guys, they can easily string a few together and get something
Hmm.
rolling. Zane, we have a question here actually or a comment from one of our viewers that actually is my dad. Um, he says, ask Zane if he remembers when he broke his arm in 7th or 8th grade and thought he'd never play football again. Now look at what he's done for himself. Zane, you remember that?
What up, Tom? Oh, absolutely, man. Seventh grade, I got a. It was I forgot the play call exactly, but quarterback took one of those where he kind of hides it behind his back, and I think it was actually I was a quarterback. I took it and put it behind my back, was rolling across. I think we were playing Cottonwood.
Yeah.
Were you? Do you remember that? Were you out there?
Yeah, I was out there. Yeah.
And took the screen, hit it behind. They didn't fall for the fake. Went out, tried jumping over this person. Got hydroplaned up in the air, came down, snapped my arm.
Yeah.
They came out on the field. My arm looked like an S.
I remember that,
My
man.
mom came out was screaming. Like
Right.
I probably would have been fine if my mom would have been screaming, but I
Right.
think when she saw it, looked down and kind of went into shock a little bit. But
Yeah.
yeah, man, what a memory. I remember
Absolutely.
that.
I
That
remember. I
was
remember you like like my dad said, you kind of crying and being like, "I'm not gonna be able to play anymore," and everybody just telling
right.
you like, "Really, dude? Like, you see how good of an athlete you are right now? You're definitely going to play football again." And I mean, look at you now. You're a Super Bowl champion.
Right.
You know,
I
talk to me
know.
about that, man. We haven't really talked a ton about that. I mean, we've
Yeah.
obviously texted a little bit and everything, but talk to me about what that's like, because that's the ultimate goal for every single NFL player, right? Is to be that last team standing at the end of the year. What was it like to be a part of that, and what's it like to be able to, not a lot of people can call themselves Super Bowl champions. So what's that like? What does that feel like to know that you were a part of something like that?
Yeah, man. It was amazing. It's like you said, man. It's what you dream about when you're a little kid is watching that. Everyone watches it every year, and to be able to be a part of that was I was super fortunate to be able to go coming out of the draft as a free agent coming to Kansas City Chiefs. Well, that was a blessing, to be able to work to stay there and be a part of that team was amazing. And it's crazy, man. It's once you do it and you're there, it's kind of just. I think if you would have told me that when I was, when I broke my arm or whatever, when you're gonna be a Super Bowl champion one day, I'd been
Uh
like,
huh.
I don't know about that. But as when you do something like that, you just want to go back again, man. That was one of the coolest feelings, to be able to be part of a team like that, to be the best team in the world, and yeah, man, it's something that I'll be able to cherish forever, and even with those teammates, we still have a group chat with the DBs from that year, and everyone still talks almost pretty much every Sunday.
Yeah.
There's everyone's kind of on different teams now, and a lot of them have stayed there, but you kind of have that bond, for sharing something like that is super cool.
I can't even imagine, man. I know that we were all so happy for you. It was gonna be it was really cool going into that game. I wrote that article about you and Sua both coming from the same high school and playing each other in the Super Bowl. It was so cool to know that somebody from Stansbury High School, which I think they're 5A now probably,
Yeah,
but I mean when I was there,
three double A, man.
little 3AA high school in rural Utah, has
Right.
two kids in a Super Bowl, and that
Yeah, that
was
was super cool. I work out with Sua, and
yeah,
in the off season he comes and trains down in Linden, but and even before the game to be able to go say what's up to him, and
yeah,
man, he's a giant. He's a
yeah, he is.
beast,
Yeah, he
and so
is.
to be able to have played with someone like that at Stansbury was super cool, and then be able to see him at that next level dominating and be able to go against that was really cool.
Oh yeah.
The article was good too, man. Telling you.
I I appreciate it, man. It was a lot of fun to be able to write again. I hadn't written like that in a while, so to
Yeah,
be able to do that was
you wouldn't be
was
able to
fun.
tell.
Haven't
It was
lost
really
it, huh?
good. No, no chance, dude.
That's good to know. That's
Gotta
good
get
to
back
know.
at it.
Yeah, I mean, let's talk about Sua a little bit. So, I mean, he's been, with the injuries the Eagles have had, he's started at right guard pretty much the whole season. Have you been able to watch any Eagles games this year and been able
I
to see him play
haven't.
at all?
I haven't, but I'd heard he was starting, which was super cool
Yeah. Yeah, I
to be
mean
able to. Yeah,
he had some great matchups. I mean, he had to block Aaron Donald, so which I'm sure he had a lot of fun doing that.
yeah,
He handled him though. I mean, I know that you guys have the Rams, coming up this Sunday, so I'm sure
hmm
you've seen your, maybe not a ton of film on Aaron Donald since he's playing defense, but
right.
you guys definitely know who he is and know that he's somebody you got a game plan for.
Yes,
Um,
absolutely.
it's cool you talked about as well about you guys have a group chat with the DBs, because that was actually going to be one of my questions was, do you still keep in touch with anybody on that Kansas City team that you won a Super Bowl with? And I was sure you probably did, so that's cool to hear
Yeah,
that you do.
yeah, absolutely. We'll still. I still have a couple buddies where we'll
Yeah,
talk every other week or so about their game and
yeah,
future opponents. That if a team is they just played a team we're about to play, I'll ask a couple things about their special teams, what he saw, and
right.
yeah, man, it was cool. There's some really good people over there. I got a lot of love for everyone in that building still.
I can imagine. Well, let's kind of talk about the Rams a little bit. So, obviously, coming off a loss to the Cowboys last week, may have lost their quarterback as well. Matthew Stafford hurt his thumb, hasn't practiced this week. His status is uncertain. What have you seen from the Rams on tape, and what are you kind of expecting to see on Sunday on the field when hopefully you'll be out there playing?
Yeah, it's they're a really good offense, especially with number 9 behind the ball. I think he's man. You see some of the throws that he makes, and it's unbelievable. I don't know if he gets enough talk, but he's
Right.
one of the best one of the better quarterbacks in this league. And to have him and Cup and also 17 Puka. There's those people you gotta game plan around, and there's a lot of other offensive weapons that we kind of got to slow down. But yeah, man, they're a great offense, and they kind of present a different strategy attack. They're in a ways they're similar to our offense in some things in some of the same schemes and stuff. And so um, it's different. It's different going from AFC, I would say AFC West and some of those offenses to some of the offenses that we face now in NFC. And overall, it's kind of a different. I would just say it's different. Like even on special teams. And so it's been cool for me to be able to see that coming over to the NFC, um, how offenses attack different things and how defenses are and special teams as a whole. It's been cool. But yeah, man, the Rams are going to present a great challenge, man. And I think they're obviously coming off a loss too, and they're going to bounce back. They've got the same attitude we have of winning one this week, and so we got to correct the mistakes we made last week, and I think we've got a good plan coming against these guys.
Absolutely, man. Yeah, I mean, and I feel like last week, against the Cowboys, they got down early, and so things kind of snowballed on them. They obviously had the pick six and then a safety. I mean, just not the ideal way to start a game. So anytime you dig yourself a hole like that, especially against a defense like the Cowboys that can pin their ears back and just go after the quarterback, and then have a secondary like they do with the athletes even without Diggs that they have. I'm sure it's not a fun place to be for an offense when you dig yourself a hole like that, but they
Right.
definitely have a lot of talent. I completely agree with you. Cooper Cup is, I mean, he is him.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
he,
He's him and Stafford have one of those connections that similar to I feel like Mahomes and Kelsey, where they know where they're supposed to be and know where each other's are going to be and where some of the spots are in zones and to kind of have that connection. And so would
exactly.
be able to see that, man. You got it's creates a new element of preparation, you know.
For sure. And I mean, you mentioned Puka. My
Yeah.
fantasy team has very much appreciated Puka Nakua's
Man, I tried
production.
picking him up. I tried him picking him up, but someone in my league beat me to it. He's
I
a
was
baller.
He is, man. Was he at BYU when you were there, or was it kind of a little bit of an overlap where he wasn't at BYU when? Because I can't remember, was he at Washington first and then transferred to BYU, or was he at BYU the whole time? I can't
Yeah, so
remember.
he went. I think he went to Washington, and then
Oh,
he transferred over. I don't know if it was his junior year or when exactly it was, but I
Yeah.
played with his brother Kai
Yeah.
and played against Samson. And man, that family, they're just full of athletes. Like when I stepped on campus my freshman year, Kai was also a safety, Kai Nakua,
Yeah.
and he's one of the better and one of the best safeties I would say I've played with. Just athletic freak, like, and to be able to see that in Puka too, it's like it's crazy, man. It's crazy how these families kind of have it like that.
Right.
And so be able to see Puka do his thing now has been super cool. You know, watching him in college and just watching him carry that what he was doing in college right into the NFL. You know, a lot of people don't see that kind of that translation, but to be able to watch him do that has been it's been cool, man. He's handled his business, especially as a rookie. To be able to come and do that, it's very impressive.
Yeah. Yeah. I think. I mean.
And I mean,
Yeah. Go ahead, man.
no, when Cup was out early, and for him to kind of fill that role, to kind of do what he was doing, it's super impressive. And now to have both of them back, it's Puka was able to prove himself and kind of bring a new element to that offense, and so create some problems, man.
Yeah. Oh yeah, for sure, man. I mean, yeah. To me, that was super surprising because you pick a guy in the fifth round, and you hope that he's going to come in and be able to produce for you, right? But I don't think anybody was. I don't think that Sean McVay was like, oh yeah, we're going to draft this kid out of BYU in the fifth round, and he's going to come in and put up the same numbers that Cooper Cup does while Cooper's out for a few weeks with an injury. So
Yeah, but
that's awesome
it
to hear
just
about
goes
his
to
whole
show his
family.
character, man. Like I don't know Puka personally, but you can just tell he's a dog, and it's been cool to see him do his thing. I think he's got a good chance to win Rookie of the Year.
Oh yeah, for sure. He's if he can, if he can even produce at probably half of what he did in the first, 5 games or so of the year,
Hmm.
absolutely he's got a chance to. So I want to check in on the game real quick here. It
Yeah.
is still 7-3 in this game. Looks like Will Levis is going to probably have to throw here on 3rd and 13.
Mm.
But the Steelers, oh, that's a first down though. Able to find a receiver for a first down. But I mean, this Steelers defensive line, man. I mean, they are making it kind of like I expected, very, very hard on Will Levis. And for this to be a 7-3 game, the Steelers offense really hasn't done much since that first drive. So Will Levis is playing well, man. I mean, he's a rookie quarterback, and I'm sure of all positions in the NFL, that's got to be the toughest one to play as a rookie.
Absolutely.
I can't
I
even
know,
imagine.
man. When you see guys come in are able to do that, kind of what
Yeah,
Brock did last year with the Niners, and it's
yeah,
impressive, man, because there's an element of growth at every position, but it's highlighted especially at quarterback.
oh yeah.
And so when rookies are able to come in and do that on a consistent basis, it's very, very impressive.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, especially like even all the, different terminology that they have to learn from college to the NFL. Offenses are just so much more, complex and things like that too. That to me is even more impressive. The cerebral part of it.
Right.
All the speed, obviously having to make decisions so much quicker. And I mean, he
Yep.
came from the SEC, right, which is probably the closest thing to the NFL that there is in college football on a week in and week out basis. And he actually led the SEC in interceptions last year. So for him to come in and play as well as he has in these first 2 games so far, it's really impressive. And I think it's probably obviously reflects on him, but the coaching staff as well, just getting him prepared and putting that trust in him. I feel like you
Hmm.
as a player probably know when you know that your team believes in you, it kind of gives you that extra boost to, think like, hey, my coaches and my teammates they trust in the ability that I have to go out there even as a rookie,
Yep.
to do this, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I think uh, I think that's the biggest thing, with being on teams is having that faith in that other person, especially as a young quarterback. Uh, I feel that same way towards Jordan Love with our team. Everyone on our team believes in that guy. Like
Yeah.
he can make all the throws, and he's a baller, man. He's a gamer, and so I think when we get things rolling and stuff, I think I'm gonna be able to see. But yeah, it's quarterback is the hardest position to play in the NFL. And you see on social media all the fans and stuff. They're very passionate about their team, but they're throwing these quarterbacks under the bus when they're like their first year really being out here, and
Right.
sometimes it takes a few years for these guys to really grasp it because the jump from college to the NFL from that level, like you said, like you were saying, is crazy, and especially to be able to facilitate the offense and make all those checks and everything. It's a lot, man. Like these people need to be patient and let these quarterbacks develop, and besides tell them we need to throw them out.
Exactly. Not everybody's going to be Tom Brady and step in and lead your team to a Super Bowl immediately and then, never lose the job again, right? I mean,
Right,
that's not realistic expectations. That's why he's the best to ever do it because
right.
he was able to step in and do that. But I mean,
Hmm.
even Peyton Manning, right? Peyton Manning, in some people's eyes, is the best quarterback ever, and he led the league in interceptions as a rookie. Like he
Yeah,
threw I think it was like 30 interceptions that he threw as a rookie. So
yeah.
if imagine if the Colts would have just been like, "Oh man, well this guy's garbage. He threw 30
Right,
picks this year. We should probably never play him again."
right.
Yeah,
Like it takes, especially at that position, it takes some time. Like you can sit back and you can get all the checks. You could sit back for 2 years or whatever behind someone, but until you're really out there and bullets are flying, like
yeah,
that's I think that people got to take into account some of these quarterbacks when it's their first time out here. It's impressive, man. It's not an easy job. Well, that's why they get paid the big bucks.
that's exactly. Well, let's talk about this game again for a second, Zane. So Derrick Henry just had a nice run there for a first down. Um, have you ever had to play a man that is that big on offense and try to tackle him in the open field? Have you ever? I mean, when you guys played Tennessee in the preseason, he probably didn't play, I would assume, because he's Derrick Henry, so they probably were like, you don't need to play in the preseason. But have you ever had to try tackle a guy that big in the open field?
Um, Let me go back to we played. I was talking about. That was my bad. I was talking about when I was with Buffalo. We played the Steelers in preseason.
Oh, okay,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. But
gotcha.
I'm trying to think, man. Um, some some of those big backs. They had a back. They have a back for the Steelers, and he's not a Derrick Henry size, but he's a little bit smaller. Jalen Warren.
Yeah, yeah,
He's small, but he's a dog. like,
he is a dog. Yeah,
like he can. There's few people when you hit him, you can kind of feel their punch, and he's definitely one of them.
yeah,
He's got lower pad level,
hmm
and he's always trying to bring the thump and bring that. There we go.
yeah. He's a bowling
That's
ball out there for sure.
but I'm trying to think even in college, we faced some good quarterbacks or some good running backs. You remember Darius Guice
Yeah,
going to LSU?
absolutely.
He was a really good running back.
He was good.
He played some in 17 and went down to LSU.
That's right. Yeah, I
Um,
did see that touchdown. If for those following along to the game, Derrick Henry able to give the Titans the lead here, a little more than midway through the second quarter. I mean, I just can't imagine trying to stop that man inside the 5 yard line. Like, I mean, I don't know if you were on here when I was talking about. I got to go to the Alabama LSU game when is the year that Derrick Henry won the Heisman.
oh, that's cool.
When Leonard Fournette was lighting it up to start the year, and then kind of slowed down a bit, and Derrick Henry just took over. And that man did not look like he should be playing running back. It looked like he should be like playing offensive line or like defensive. I could not believe how big he was.
Yeah, and for him to be able to run how he does and get to his high speed is crazy.
Yeah, it's a
It's
scary thing for a defense, I'm sure.
it's impressive, man. Yeah, he's one of those. I feel like one of those players that's just I feel like kind of like that generational. There's just not a lot of dudes like him. You
Yeah,
got. I feel like the closest person is probably Najee Harris, right? In the league that I can think of.
yeah,
It's
I
like
I
kind of
think
on that like
probably.
on that size scale.
Yeah, I mean, I imagine like you remember Brandon Jacobs from back in the
Yep.
day, that played for the Giants.
Yep.
Imagine like a guy that size, but has 4.4 speed. That's Derrick Henry.
Right.
I mean, that's a unicorn. I mean, that's just you don't find that
Mm,
ever.
I know. What year is this for him?
I want to
You know.
say this is his 6th or 7th year. I know he's on his second contract because he signed that big extension after his rookie deal. Let me let
Okay.
me let me check myself on that and make sure that I'm not giving out fake news here. Yeah, eighth. This is his 8th year in the league. Man, that makes me feel old because I remember very clearly going to that game when he was in college.
Who did they play? Who was Bama
Um,
playing that year?
LSU. So it was LSU at Tuscaloosa. I got super lucky. There was actually a guy who was a missionary when I lived in Alabama. He was a missionary in our ward in Alabama, and he was going back to Alabama to visit. And he just happened to have an extra ticket to the LSU Alabama game. And he calls me like 2 hours before the game starts. And he's like, "Hey CJ, I've got an extra ticket to this Bama LSU game. Do you want to drive out to Tuscaloosa?" I was living in Birmingham at that point, which is like normally about a 45-50 minute drive from Birmingham. On game days, it's a lot longer than that because everybody and their
Oh,
mom is in Tuscaloosa.
everyone's driving down
So
for that.
yeah. So especially when they're playing LSU and it was a night game. Um, but I was
Man,
like, "Oh heck
it's
yeah, man, I'll be
unbelievable.
there." So yeah, I made it out there like pretty much right when kickoff was going to start, and I had been to a couple Alabama games before that, but never that big of a matchup. That is an incredible atmosphere. I've been to Utah football games, and that's a great atmosphere. It's fun, obviously, but
Hmm.
Bryant Denny in a night game, Bama LSU. I mean, that was
Yeah. How would
supreme,
you say that compares like between Utah?
bro.
I think Utah. I played in in Tennessee. I played in
Yeah,
a couple SEC stadiums, but I think Utah is like electric, man. Like playing up at Rice Eccles is pretty
yeah.
electric, but I mean that's on a whole nother level.
Yeah, I mean, Rice Eccles is awesome, right? I was there for the USC game. I think when Sam Darnold was the quarterback at USC,
Okay.
I got to go to that Utah USC game, and I mean, yeah, that atmosphere is awesome. But bro, SEC football, I mean, it is a religion. When I moved to Alabama, literally the first question that they asked me was Bama or Auburn, Roll Tide or War Eagle, and I had to make a decision real quick. And I went to the University of Alabama for a year, so Roll Tide. But I mean, it's a whole different thing down there. You think that it's in Utah, right? We got the Jazz, and everybody in Utah loves the Jazz, right?
Right.
We ride or die with the Jazz. But it's a college football in the South, man. They don't have professional teams,
Yeah.
so that's what they've had their whole lives is college football, and
It's
they
so cool.
live and die by it. I'm sure playing in Neyland against Tennessee, man. I remember watching that game. I'm sure that was an incredible atmosphere because like Lavelle Edwards Stadium is awesome, right? Home game in Lavelle Edwards is great, but like we're saying, man, SEC it's just different.
Yeah.
It's
It's
hard to
fun.
describe.
Yeah, it is. But that was man, those are some
You think
cool
that was the
memories,
toughest
man.
play you ever? You think that's the toughest place you ever played in college? Was that Tennessee, or what would you say the toughest environment you ever played in was?
I would probably say that.
Yeah.
Um, when we played LSU, it was at the Dome before the
Oh,
Saints
okay.
play,
Yeah. So
and
it's a neutral site. Okay.
yeah, but I'll probably say Tennessee.
Yeah.
Wisconsin was up there. Um,
Oh, I bet. Yeah.
there's been a few cool places to play, but that was cool about being independent. When I was there at BYU, was being able to play those teams, and like
Yeah.
we loved going. Like obviously we loved playing it. We loved playing at home in front of our fans and friends and families, but
Sure.
we loved it, man. We loved going to those SEC schools and playing on the
Yeah.
road. So I think it was an advantage, obviously, to them, but we enjoyed it. Like
Yeah. And I mean, and BYU travels like better than almost any
yes,
any team, obviously, because I mean, there's the the BYU following is a majority going to be LDS, members,
Right.
right? And
Right.
so, there's members all over the country. So I'm sure that, being able to have a lot of BYU fans at every road game was really cool too.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, they travel really, really well.
Yeah,
So that was awesome.
I'm sure, man. Were you? I can't remember. Were you on that team when y'all beat Nebraska that one year on the Hail Mary when I think Parker Magnum was playing quarterback because Taysom got hurt? Were you in college yet? Were you on that team or were you still at Stansbury?
Yeah, that was my very first game my freshman
Yeah,
year.
I thought it was, man.
Fifteen.
Well, I'm sure Nebraska was probably an incredible environment
Yeah,
too, right?
I was about to say that's definitely up there too.
Because
Like
like
it's
I've heard that whole city just like shuts down on game days and everybody in Lincoln is in that stadium.
yeah, yeah, and it was that was a cool. I was a little spoiled to have that for my very first game and for that
Yeah.
kind of experience of that Hail Mary and Tanner
Yeah.
and
That
Mitch.
was
But
that was amazing.
yeah, that was an electric atmosphere for sure. There's Jalen.
Man.
Am I it's at 3:37 right now. What's the time showing for
I
you?
think I think you're barely ahead of me. I don't know how I got behind you. I'm at 348 right now, so I think you're one play ahead of me.
Yeah, I'll shut up.
No, no,
I'll keep it quiet.
no, man, you're fine.
I'll be that
You're
with I'll be
fine.
talking to one of my friends and we'll be talking about the game and I'll be ahead. He's like, pause it.
There's Jalen Warren, man. I mean, you're right. He's a bowling ball. I mean, he runs hard. I
Yeah,
like him a lot. I think it's a nice. They got a nice little duo of running back with he and Najee. Najee gets a lot of hate, and I guess I get it. Being a first round pick, running backs don't get drafted in the first round a lot anymore. But when they do, there's a lot of expectations for them, and a lot of teams I think have maybe unfairly looked at Ezekiel Elliott as like the model of don't pick a running back in the first round, and I think that that's probably rubbed off on other guys that have gotten picked there. Even though I mean Zeke was incredible to start his career, he just I mean being a running back that's a lot of wear and tear on your body, right? I mean you're getting hit by linebackers and safeties, coming up and defensive linemen, every play, especially guys like that are getting so many carries.
right. Absolutely. I think that goes to kind of what you're saying though. I think it's important to kind of have like that 1-2 punch
Yeah,
just to kind of take off the load. And that's what's been crazy about Derek is him being able to kind of he's obviously there's like he's kind of like he's has some good number two backs behind him,
yeah,
but he's kind of just been that show there for a really long time for him to be able
exactly.
to have his success and be healthy and obviously he
Yeah.
had like a foot injury a year ago or so, but
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I think it's important to have that kind of like that 1-2 punch and the Steelers they've got it with Najee and Jalen.
And I think you guys got it too in Green Bay with Aaron Jones and AJ
Yep.
Dillon. Like I mean that's once you can get Aaron Jones healthy, man. I know that's I mean that's another part I think that a lot of people are forgetting is how important Aaron Jones is to your guys' offense. Not having him for a big part of the season is definitely going to affect your guys' ability on offense. So when you can get him back, that's obviously going to be a huge boost. I know I saw that he was still kind of limited in practice this week, but hopefully you guys can get him back really soon because I mean he's such an underrated back. He does so much for you guys. Even when Aaron Rodgers was there, he could turn in hand to whenever they were struggling or whatever, turn a hand and to Aaron Jones or use him as a receiver. He's just such a weapon for you guys.
Yeah, he is. He's a dog, man. And
Yeah.
so to be able to have him on our team along with AJ, like with that 1-2 punch, when they're both out there and they're both functioning and both healthy at the same time, it's scary, but it's one of the I think one of the better running back duos across the league.
For sure, man. I mean,
And
yeah, you got a bruiser
AJ's a
like that.
dog too, man.
Yeah, yeah,
And like people sleep on him a lot. I think he's a really good running back, and I think we've seen glimpses of it since Aaron's kind of been hurt. I think
Mhm.
he's slowly getting his legs under him and kind of becoming that guy, and so be able to get both those guys back.
Yeah.
It's gonna be great.
Yeah, I remember seeing him in college at Boston College, AJ Dillon, and I was like, I thought he was a fullback. Like thought it was like a triple option fullback when I first saw like how big he was. But I mean, he's a big dude, and he's kind of a lot like Derrick Henry that way, where they're big guys that are so fast for how big they are.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. He'll be like yesterday. Yesterday was our padded day, and there's you guys, when they hit the hole, and he runs right through that hole, and you're head up with him. It's like, all right, let's go. You know it's coming when you're going against him. But yeah, AJ's a dog. Aaron's a dog. It's cool having those guys on our team.
Well, Zan, I won't take too much more of your time, man. And I know that you got a busy schedule. I can't imagine what it's like being in meetings and practice and preparing to play an NFL game every week. I mean, I look at it as I can't even believe that I know somebody, let alone two people that are in the NFL and have a chance to be able to still talk to you. It's awesome that I was able to have this conversation. I did want to mention something though before I do let you go. So the Packers are going to be in Charlotte on Christmas Eve, and that is where I currently reside. Any way you can hook me up with some sideline passes or tickets or something to that game?
I got you, brother. A little Merry
Bro,
Christmas.
I'm totally kidding, but I mean, if
No,
you're really gonna do it, I mean,
dude,
can't say no.
you got to stand up for the 435, the
Yes, sir.
hometown guys. That's cool, man. I didn't know you were living out there. That's for sure,
Yeah, I'm
dude.
living in Charlotte, and I mean, I was trying to go to the Cowboys game because I'm a Cowboys fan. But I mean,
Yeah,
holy cow! Just because it's the Cowboys, tickets are crazy expensive, even with the Panthers being 1-6. And I was kind of going through the schedule again, and I was like, "Holy crap! The Packers are going to be here! Like, I'd love to go see Zayne play in person." But
is that the 24th? That's Christmas Eve.
yeah, it's on Christmas Eve.
Let's go,
Yeah,
man. Let's get you out there. That'd be sweet.
bro, that would be amazing. I'm obviously totally kidding. Like, you don't gotta
How many
do that
NFL
if
games
you're.
have you been to?
I've been to two. So I went to
Okay.
one in Ben Roethlisberger's rookie year when they were playing the Cowboys at the old Texas Stadium.
Oh, sweet.
And then on my 18th birthday, I went to a Cowboys Eagles game in the new, in Jerry World in AT&T Stadium. So
That's
those are the
cool,
two that
man.
I've been to. Yeah.
They're uh they're fun. It's I tell people, when I have friends and family to come, it's electric.
I know your
So
parents were out. I saw that your parents were out in Lambeau a couple weeks ago.
yeah. So they went to Denver. They haven't been out here to Lambeau yet,
Oh,
but
okay. Okay. I
but
didn't
yeah,
realize
that
that.
was my first time being able to see them in a little bit. When you leave for camp, you head out in
Yeah.
July, and to be able to see them, Denver's super close to Salt Lake City, so they were able to come in, and
Yeah.
it was cool, man. It's good to see the fam. It's good to see familiar faces. So
I'm sure.
we'll we'll see you Christmas Eve, brother.
Bro, that would be amazing, man. I'd love to do that. I'd love to see you for sure.
I got you, dude. I'm glad you brought it up because I had no idea you were living over there.
Yeah, yeah, I'm living. Oh, that's a touchdown. Oh no, they call it incomplete. Okay. Sorry, but yeah, man, I like it out here. It's a lot of fun. They kind of are a little unlucky with their sports teams. The Panthers haven't been good for a minute, and the Charlotte Hornets are, how do I put this, like a dumpster fire. They're they're really bad. So they obviously are, yearning since Cam Newton had them in a Super Bowl a few years ago. Panthers have really struggled, but yeah, man, I would love to see that game on Christmas Eve if we can make that happen. I'd love to see you and love to be able to watch you play live and catch up with you in person.
Yeah, man. We'll get you out there for sure. Will it be cold then out there or how's
Yeah, I mean it'll be cold, probably not. I mean not Green Bay cold. I can promise you that. Not even probably Utah cold, but I mean today for example, it was like the low was like 40.
okay?
I'd
It's not
bet.
too bad.
Yeah, in Charlotte, it doesn't get like horribly cold in the winter. It's not like in like Raleigh or in like Boone, North Carolina, where like Appalachian State is. That's like up in the mountains. It gets cold and it can snow there.
Okay.
But I mean, nothing you're not used to. You'll probably not even think it's cold when you're when you're down here.
I know. Shirts or shirts and shirts and shorts, probably.
Exactly. Well, man, thank you
All
so
right,
much for
man.
coming on. It was so fun to talk to you, and wish you well. Hopefully, we get to see you play this weekend, and stay healthy and know that you've got a fan here in Charlotte that's always rooting for you, man.
My guy. You're the man. See, it's always good catching up, brother.
All right, man. You have a good night.
Okay, you too, man. We'll see
Take
you.
care, bro. Bye bye.